Hey, Daniel.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
I have to
Hi.
apologize. My last meeting ran late. I actually ran into my office because it ran so late, and I'm so sorry to all of you. But thank you, everyone, for joining.
You're welcome.
I am just pulling up our slideshow now, and then I'll get started. Okay, everyone should be able to see my presentation. Yes, okay, cool. So welcome everyone to the third Junior Mentor Zoom. We're almost there, and I think the juniors have been doing a phenomenal job. We've been asking them to do a lot. Some of them, we've had some specific programs tailored to them, and I got to say, all the juniors have been doing phenomenally. Esmeralda's been checking in with them regularly, making sure they're doing what they need to do, texting, emailing, and all the juniors are incredibly responsive. We're making sure that they all have what they need. Thank you all to you for being their mentors. I think you guys have been doing awesome as well. At any point, if you're having technical issues, as always, send me a text. I have my phone right here in front of me, and I can always try my best. So today we're I want to mention something about SAT, ACT, talk about Magoosh, some of our juniors and this year. As always, I want to shout out my team, Anita, Esmeralda, Islan. They've been doing everything, and not only that, they've been finding ways to improve, tweak the program. Esmeralda said that there were 3 juniors who reached out who were initially supposed to be on the call, so they should be reaching out to you to let you know that they can't make it today. But just from that, like the juniors are being incredibly great. So I mentioned on the last call that every junior course student is required to take the SAT and ACT. I also shared the test structure and the exam. I also shared how each one of them has a Magoosh account. So Esmeralda has been having the students come in for meetings individually to sit down and actually complete Magoosh. Because if you've ever worked with high school students, one of the big things is that while we tell them that they should do SAT and ACT, because the results aren't in front of them right away or the requirements aren't in front of them right away, sometimes they'll put it off, they'll procrastinate. Every teenager does. It's just what happens. But something that we shared with them, the Bright Future Scholarship for Florida has 2 levels. One covers 100% of a student's tuition at a university here in Florida or a community college. And the second level covers 75%. As long as the student meets these requirements, they are guaranteed that money when they go to school here in Florida. So the first one is the high school course credits. Many of them actually fall under the requirements of acceptance into a state university system. So 4 English, 4 math, 3 science, 3 social science, and 2 foreign world languages are actually part of the requirements to be accepted into a university such as FSU, UF, UCF, USF, those schools. The next is their weighted GPA. For 100%, it's 3.5. For 75%, it's 3.0. The one where it gets tricky, oh, I should also mention, I'm sorry, they also have to work a certain number of hours or volunteer for all of our students because they're working in our after school program. They actually automatically receive this because they're already working in our program. We work with the counselor at Immokalee High, and so they're actually able to make sure that every single one of our students gets all their hours for the school year inputted. So really nothing else is an issue. The biggest issue our students face is the test score, the ACT and SAT test score that they have to take. On average, our students get between 19 and 22. So we have had students in the past who do phenomenally well These are typically our students who are already taking dual enrollment or early admissions classes. They usually perform in the 28, 29, sometimes even 30 range. Unfortunately, for the majority of our students, they are performing in that 19 to 21 range. That may not make it possible for them to get this scholarship. So for the 75%, it's actually this one right here that they're going to need an ACT score of a 24 or an SAT of 1190. So if your student has gotten a 19, 20, 21, or in some cases, maybe even 18, they got to jump up a few points. Typically, our students on the SAT are getting between 980 and 1120. So unfortunately, that's also below it with an 1190. But this is why we push Magoosh so hard, SAT, ACT prep, because when they graduate, not if, sorry, when they graduate in 2026, they'll be part of this cohort. And as long as they meet that requirement, they'll get that money. And because it's sponsored by the Florida Lottery, everyone loves scratch offs, Powerball, I feel like. So that money will keep coming in and they'll keep sending that money to school. If a student is performing very well, we'll push them to go to the 100%, to try to go for that 29 or that 1330. These tests do super score. So for example, if a student on one test gets a 550 on the reading and they get a 800 on the math, then they'll take that 800 math, and then the next one they do better in the reading, they'll super score that test score. Most of our students are a fan of the SAT. This 1330 and this 1190, it's just the trend nowadays over the ACT. But it is what they have. And we did share this with all of the students. So that way they can have that as a reminder to go onto Magoosh, to study, to spend time answering questions. Esmeralda has also made sorry, I'm trying to think of the right word. She made a prize raffle for the students. So a month or two ago, someone actually donated a laptop that works 100% well. It's almost close to brand new. So we cleaned it up, we wiped it, we reset it to factory settings. The kids don't know this yet, so don't tell them. They just know there's a really grand prize. But we're actually going to make that the prize. It's basically a brand new MacBook that a student will be able to use for high school or college. The second prize, they do know this, will be an Amazon gift card. We're basing it off not just how many times they log into the portal, but how many questions they answer. The questions that they answer really help them develop the skills to take this test. So it is something that they should be spending the time to do. And I encourage all of you to reach out to them and say, hey, have you been logging into Magoosh? What is your test score so that I can so we can talk about how you can get to the test score you need to accomplish this. I encourage you all to reach out to them and ask them. Esmeralda is slowly collecting those. So once I have everyone's, I can actually individually send you their score that they got on their test. Because some of them registered in November, some of them have registered for the February test, and we do have a few actually registered for the June test. Herb, BJ?
Yeah, I have a question. If I get a 24 on my ACT, what is it that I get? Or what don't I get if I don't get a 24?
So for this one, the 24, you will have 75% of your tuition covered at a university in Florida. So if the bill is $8,000, you're going to receive a $6,000 scholarship from Bright Futures sent to the school.
Got it. And if I get 29, I get 100%?
100% tuition. So if the cost is $8,000 for the year, they will send $8,000 to the school.
So, and Daniel, so you just have to go cross the threshold for ACT or CLT or SAT. In other words, you don't have to, just any one of those will suffice if you get the right number.
Yes, they don't have to get all three, just one of those. They fill out the application online. The application does not ask for an essay, doesn't ask for an interview. They just ask for their information and their transcripts, and then they're granted that scholarship.
And did you say you would send us their scores that they've gotten so far?
Yes, once I have everyone's, because Esmeralda is slowly collecting them, and I'll send out the ones that I can at this time.
Great, thank you.
Daniel, I have a question on the high school course credits. I assume those are yearly.
Sorry, one sec. Can you say that one more time, Linda?
the high school course credits, I assume those are for a full year, so 4 full years of English, 4 full years of math, etc.
Yes.
Thank you.
And they do need those requirements to be accepted to those universities. So those are automatically already fulfilled.
Daniel, this is JF Shear.
Mhm.
Did you say that the average ACT for the students that are in the tutor corps is 19 to 22?
19 to 21 for our ECT, and then between like a 980 and an 1150 for the SAT. For these tests, it's not always the substance that the students struggle with. It's more of the testing strategies and skills that they need when they approach the test, because for some questions, they may be long and complicated, take about 5 minutes to answer, and they'll spend those 5 minutes instead of skipping to the next question, which only takes about less than a minute to answer, and then coming back to the long one. That is the biggest strategy I would recommend for a student to take advantage of. It's also about looking at grammar. That's the second biggest struggle, where to properly place the comma in a sentence, or what's the correct verbiage that they should use in a sentence, is sometimes the biggest barrier for these students.
And Daniel,
Thank
what
you.
is the SAT prep provided by Guadalupe Center?
So that portal Magoosh, which I shared about last meeting, the students each have an account. We've paid for the account. The students are able to log in from their phone or their computer from wherever they are, and they're able to read the practice exams. They're able to take practice exams and answer sample questions that might be on the test.
But what about the strategy that you're referring to? Don't they need some kind of tutoring around strategy with examples so they can learn how best to approach?
Yes, so the Magoosh does have videos for them to follow. We have struggled to find a teacher willing to teach those strategies at Immokalee High. I'm always putting the word out. I feel like I put it out 3 times a semester, because we do pay a teacher as well if they were to take the position. But unfortunately, there just hasn't been any takers. I feel like a lot of the teachers at Immokalee High have been burned out or already committed to other after-school activities, which is unfortunate. But that's not going to stop me from continuing to put the word out to Immokalee High School teachers to hopefully get someone. We have had volunteers give one-time presentations on these. For example, John Krupp is actually the testing coordinator for Golden Gate High School. Well, actually, no, he has a new position as assistant principal, but he's married to our VP of Philanthropy, Kelly Krupp. And so we were able to steal him for a day, and he gave a great presentation, very engaging with the students. We're just trying to find someone who will be consistent. We want them to meet with them like basically on a weekly or every other week basis, because the more they receive it, the better.
Daniel, I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, but I was that's kind of surprising when you consider, and I assume that this scholarship's available to every student, not just the students in the tutor corps. We're talking serious money here. If a
Yes.
kid can, let's say score 24,
Mhm.
and Immokalee High School can't provide somebody that would, hell, I would think they'd be on that like white on rice, as far as helping every darn kid in the school
Mhm.
to try
So-
to reach that level.
Yeah, so what Immokalee High School struggles with, that they put a lot of their focus in, is making sure that students reach the requirements to reach graduation. So because a large portion of our population didn't have those reading skills growing up, they're not on the level they should be, so they are testing under the level that they should be at, that they need to get to before they can graduate high school. I know Immokalee High has teachers for that, that they get to participate in those programs. We've tried to reach out to them, but they're committed to making sure that they can graduate first before they reach out to the bigger ones. Last year, the principal at Immokalee High, Bodison, actually had a teacher willing to tutor so that a student could get to this Bright Futures level, but they actually opened it up to Immokalee High School entirely. And we did push our students to do that last year, but this year he didn't have anyone do that.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, well, at the risk of extending this ridiculously long, what about the Guadalupe Center offering that to tutor corps students? Maybe, I'm just throwing this out there, maybe with the financial help of some of us, I'm willing to raise my hand, It just seems to me this is such a critically important element in their future. As JF was saying, the the difference between not having aid or 75% or 100% has got to be just tremendous.
Yeah, especially because it's tuition, which, like, for example, the students here in Immokalee go to FSW or FGCU. If they're just commuting, their only costs are going to be tuition and gas. They're not going to have to worry about room and board. They're not going to have to worry about housing or anything like that. It's incredible. And we do actually, with all your donations that we get every year, we do budget for a teacher to get paid at this specifically. But so far, no teacher at Immokalee High has taken it. But like I said, I'll continue to
But
put the
it
word out.
doesn't, okay, maybe this is an offline discussion, Daniel, because it doesn't really necessarily have to be an Immokalee teacher, does it? Could it not be, someone who is part of a consulting group? This is what they do. They help this is not an unknown area. I mean, there are people whose business model is helping students improve their performance. And I think we all know that with coaching, that performance can be very substantially improved.
Yeah, we've had a few I won't say consulting groups, but we've had a few people who have said that they can come out, but then it ends up becoming that they stop after a week or two because it's an hour drive here, an hour drive back. Even though we're paying them, they just are not interested. But if you know of anyone, if you have anyone, I always research and look up. If you know of anyone, let me know. I'd be more than happy to reach out. The last person I spoke to was actually a former teacher who had retired in Golden Gate and wanted to help out different areas. We had spoken, we tried to get her on board, but unfortunately it was that drive too that told her, because while Zoom is helpful, it's similar to the Magoosh videos where the students need someone in front of them to walk them through that process and answer live questions. Because if they get stuck on one thing, then they can't follow the rest. So if you know of anyone or hear of anyone, send me their info out. Like you said, I'm gonna be on that like white on rice.
Hey, Daniel, it's Mark. Why don't we go over to Ave Maria? Because that eliminates the travel. I understand the travel going out there to Immokalee. But I mean, here we have a university that is dedicated to Christian principles. You would expect that if we're not out there and lobbied for this, we could get somebody, if we're willing to pay him, to come on over and help.
I did speak to Ariel Barker. She's one of the people from the Office of Missions, because we were trying to build a partnership with them. I did lose that contact 2 years ago, but you know what? I will actually make a note to reach out to them again. Give me 1 second. Because I know they, oh, Linda, you're on mute.
The other thing is, how many hours of this do the students need? It doesn't seem like the strategy piece needs to be that many hours. Do you have a sense of how many hours it is?
So when I put it out to the teachers at Immokalee High, I requested just an hour a week. We would alternate weeks between our juniors and sophomores so that we could start it ahead of time. So they would be paid for 2 days a week, about an hour. And they would actually sit not just the strategies, but also hopefully have someone who knows math, someone who knows reading, to teach them those grammar skills. And then with math, the formulas that they need to know and how to approach the question. Because with our students, sometimes they get confused on one of the beginning steps and then they don't know how to do the rest. So using those and consistently keeping up those questions and repetitiveness, I think would help the students jump up 5, 6, even 7 points on the ECT, and then probably 200 to 300 points on the SAT.
So how many hours in total for our juniors?
For our juniors, I would say one a week, 2 every other week for live tutoring.
So, but how many weeks are we talking? So how many hours in total?
I would do this throughout the whole school year, because students start taking it in June, to the next June. I would do it throughout the whole year if I could.
Okay, I guess my point is, in an effort to find perfect, we're getting nothing. because of the way the timing is structured, you may want to consider breaking it up into a session that might be more than 1 hour. Maybe it's 2 hours or 3 hours on a weekend or something, or on an evening, and focusing on the highest priority. And then if you can get the other stuff done, great.
Mm.
But let's not get nothing done because we can't get the whole thing done.
PJ, Herb?
Yeah, are these sessions optional or required of the
We
students?
don't have the sessions yet.
We had them.
The live ones that Esmeralda holds with Magoosh, they're required. The students
Okay.
have to attend.
Got it.
I think I answered everyone's question. I just have to jump into the next slide or else we'll run out of time. And that's the last thing. My next slide, Naples Children Education Foundation is hosting a leadership academy for 15 of our students on February 17th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Those 15 students have actually already been selected. Reach out to your mentee. I can also let those mentors know that their student was selected. But from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., they'll be going to Florida Southwestern State College. They'll be receiving a panel from a lot of different students, some college, some in high school. It's not limited to just our program. That's why they only gave us 15 spots. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have sent all of our juniors to this because it's an incredible opportunity. But they told us you can only send 15 because they're also sending students from the Immokalee Foundation, Boys and Girls Club, Grace Place in Naples, and I believe another organization in Naples. But this also happens to fall on our annual Buddy Day that we take our second graders to. So we had to be very specific with which students are going to Buddy Day and which students were going to this Leadership Academy. And since it invites both juniors and seniors, we had to pick from both classes. It was incredibly difficult because this is something we would want every single student to participate in, but with the limited spots, we did have to limit that. What I can actually do, and I'll make a note here, is I will include the list of those students participating in the Leadership Academy in my recap email. That way, if your student's on that list, you can ask them about it and talk to them ahead of time and then after the event. And then, so one of the things all of our tutors look forward to from freshmen through juniors is the annual spring break trip we take to all the different universities in Florida. What I will say, the very first day is incredibly long. The students get to sleep though, but it is quite long. Day one, we head to Tallahassee because it is the farthest school. To follow charter bus regulations, we're actually only allowed to be on the road for a certain number of hours, which is why it does end so quickly. Because when the charter bus reaches its limits, they've told us in the past, if we reach our limit, we will pull over on the side of the road no matter where we're at and stop. We can't have that, so we got to structure our schedule around that. But day one, all the students arrive here at the center by 3:30 a.m. and we are on the road by 4. Some of your juniors made me laugh because they said, you know what, I can't get up that early. I'm staying up all night. I told them, do whatever it is you need to do, but as long as you're here in the parking lot by 3:30 a.m., I don't mind. We depart from 4, we have breakfast on the road, and then we actually arrive at the stadium for an official tour of FSU. FSU is one of those campuses where a student either knows they want to attend or knows they don't want to attend immediately upon arriving on campus. Encourage your student to look up majors, look up careers. It's not just about the campus. It's not just about the population. It's about what the school can offer you. We do allow students to visit the bookstore and purchase items that they want. Encourage your student to follow financial literacy and see which school they want to attend the most and budget for each school. Because last year we had one senior, we did let her know ahead of time, and she said she had no regrets She spent all of her fun bookstore money at one school and didn't buy a single thing from any other school. And she said it was the best thing in her life. We also visit the Southern Scholarship Housing Foundation House in Tallahassee. This scholarship actually covers the entirety cost of their housing while they're in the university. This is offered in Tallahassee, Gainesville, and Orlando. So a student can be attending, sorry, not Orlando, Fort Myers. I'm sorry for my mistake. So a student can be attending the University of Florida, Santa Fe College, Florida State University, Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, FAMU, or FGCU, and they can get this scholarship. They do live in a house with between 10 and 17 other people. These are big homes, they're not small homes. They do participate in chores such as cooking or cleaning, but their housing is guaranteed, and then their meal plan for the semester is less than $500. It's a great opportunity. Some of our students have done it in the past. As long as they're a student in that area, they qualify for that scholarship. It doesn't matter if they're an undergraduate student or a graduate student. As long as they're at a school, they can keep participating. So if, say, your student is interested in becoming a dentist or a doctor, and they attend the University of Florida, and then they attend the University of Florida Medical School, they can have their housing covered. That is one of their biggest expenses. But we do end the day kind of early at 5:30. Again, meeting those bus regulations. We check in at a hotel. We actually walk over to a pizza place, bring it back to the students, and they have curfew by 10. On day 2, we are visiting the University of Florida and having meals in the UF dining hall. We again show students as much as we can, visit the bookstore, visit the Rights Union. For those of you who don't know, the Rights Union is the student union for the campus, where they not only have the bookstore, but they also have many of the clubs and activities and internships and offices of outreach. So they'll get to see that. And they'll also tour Santa Fe College. We drive afterwards and go to Orlando. We have dinner at a barbecue place. And then on the 3rd day, we visit University of Central Florida. They give us a tour. We have lunch at a local area, visit the bookstore, and then depart back to the center. So it's a long 3 days, but the students tend to love it because they're spending 3 days away from home. They're surrounded by their friends, and they get to see these schools, for some of them, the very first time. For some of the students, they will get on campus and say, you know what, this school is what I was expecting. I really like it here. I want to go here. For others, they'll realize that these schools that they were dreaming of are incredibly big. They'll say, you know what, I feel like I'm going to get lost here. Like, no one's going to reach out to me. We always encourage students to look beyond that and look at majors, look at financial aid. But this will be their first insight into these schools. And a lot of the students have a lot of fun.
Daniel, does every junior kid in the program go on this trip?
Yes, it is actually one of our requirements, and they are let know that ahead of time, because otherwise some of the students will say, I'm sorry, I can't go, it's spring break. We don't want that. We want them to see the campuses.
Right.
So Daniel, what if you have a student who doesn't want to go? I know my mentee is she doesn't seem to want to do anything that's very far away from her home. I'm struggling to see her go away for 3 days.
So we do occasionally have that happen. And I promise I say this in a very nice way to them, but we also tell them it's a requirement of the program and they don't really have a choice. I promise I just say it in a nicer way to them. So they are all expected to go. Their parents are let know that they're expected to go. The only cost associated with this for the student is if they want to purchase something at the bookstore. We do have them all put down a $20 deposit, and it's actually due, I believe, this upcoming Friday for the trip. We tell the students that they each will get that $20 back as long as nothing happened on the trip, such as breaking a lamp at the hotel, or maybe they accidentally broke a chair, anything like that. That's never happened before. Every single year, their students get their money back, but they all are made aware that it's a requirement. They put down a deposit and that they're attending. Last year, we only had one student not attend, and it's because he actually got the flu on Sunday before we left. He called us Sunday afternoon that he was unfortunately not able to attend and he wished he could make it, but he was sick, so unfortunately he couldn't go. But mostly everyone does go.
Okay. Thank you.
Daniel, I couldn't get on before. I just had one idea when we were talking, and this goes back a screen, in regard to the testing. Can we encourage the students to do the Khan Academy for the preparation for the SAT and ACT? That's supposed to be phenomenal.
Yes, they have hundreds and I actually believe thousands of videos on different subject matters. So if you'd like to encourage your students to participate in it, please do. I know sometimes the students struggle with particular subjects and their videos are incredibly helpful.
Okay.
I will continue on to my next slide. So I do have to apologize again. So I made a mistake when I was putting together the slideshow. I accidentally put all the seniors on my junior slide and all my juniors on the senior slide on the other presentation. So that was my mistake. A few of you emailed me saying you didn't see your student. That was on me. I'm sorry. But I did update this with everyone's hours. This is the time of year where we will reach out to every single student in the program, let them know how many hours they've worked. Again, we've encouraged them from the very beginning to keep track of their hours, but some of them kind of forget about it with everything else they have going on. At this point, most students should be at either 140 hours or more. We're at about halfway for the school year for work. So if they're below that, either they started late or they're participating in some kind of activity. For some students, because they're not participating in activity and they're going to work every single day, they will complete a lot of hours. I got to give a quick shout out to Tim and Liz's mentee, Mariela Ortiz. She's not only at work every day, she also does bus duty every day. She's never called in sick, so she's done a phenomenal. Congrats, Tim and Liz.
We don't take any credit for that, trust me.
So most students will have over 140. If they're under that, it's because they did start the program late. They started as new students. So for example, Reginald Petit, who only has 105, he actually didn't start the program till October. So he missed out on 2 months that the other students had, but he's on track with what he has now. Are there any questions on hours that I can answer? So as always, we're keeping track of GPAs, scholarship funding, their majors. The students just this last Friday completed surveys. We're compiling the data now. So part of what all the students need to do with us is a career survey where we track their top 3 desired majors and desired careers. We just got the results of those surveys this past Friday. Esmeralda and I are compiling the data now. I'm hoping that I'll have it all ready by the next Zoom meeting so that I can actually share with all of you. That won't be till February, so we have enough time. I'm hoping to have that all done by that point. Esmeralda is still tracking SAT and ACT registrations. What we're also going to do with our juniors this spring, that's something new that we haven't done with juniors in the past, is we're going to have our juniors complete this year's FAFSA. For anyone who doesn't know, the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. Every senior in the country has to complete it if they want to receive a scholarship from a university. The FAFSA application lets a university know how much money a family is predicted to be able to provide for their student to attend a college or university. So for our students, typically, a student is eligible for the maximum federal Pell Grant that is available at that time. For this school year, it is $7,395. Many of our seniors are receiving that amount, so that will go to their institution. It can pay for room, tuition, board. It's kind of like a scholarship that isn't targeted towards one cost. It's just for their cost of attendance overall. So at this point, we're going to start working with them on what's known as their FSA IDs. That's the login to the portal. They have to make one, and their parent has to either have one already or create one. This is where it gets tricky. So To have an FSA ID, you have to have a social security number. And so for some of our students whose parents don't have one, they have to go through the process of verifying their identity to the federal student aid application staff so that they can get the FSA ID. For some people, it only takes a week. For others, it can take a few months. So we're starting it early so that we can get on top of this. And if any students having issues, we can get on top of it now. It's all planning ahead and hopefully, fingers crossed, no issues. But we're getting ahead of this. All right. So I just got a new calendar of Saturdays available here at our Van Arler campus. As you all know, the Department of Children and Families conducts their testing here every other Saturday. And since a staff member is here, the building is available and open if you'd like to come and meet your mentee here in Immokalee. Again, it's from 9 to 1. Just let me know, and I'm happy to book a mentor lounge for you or book an office for you so that you can come out and meet. Any questions about anything I covered?
Daniel, can I just ask, I mean, again, we've already beaten the horse dead, but I'll do it some more. What are the practical ramifications for a student who qualifies for FAS status or FMS status and one who does not? Does it simply translate into them carrying a greater debt burden as a result of not having that offset 100% or 75%? Does it change the schools they are willing to go to as a result of their status with FMS or FAS? What does it actually, I mean, I understand literally what it means, but what does it mean in terms of student choices as it relates to college?
So what I'll share with you, because maybe I accidentally stressed a lot of people out. So last year's class, we actually only had 4 students get a Bright Future Scholarship. We still had every single student did not have to take out a loan to attend their university. So it's not the end of the world if they don't get Bright Futures, but it may make the difference between a student's number 1 choice, possibly number 2, possibly number 3 financially. In an ideal world, again, we're not living in an ideal world, but in an ideal world, every single one of our students would have either the FAS or FMS so that they could go to the university that they choose. Not everyone gets it. What I'll also share is Immokalee High School has between 350 to 450 graduates every year. We as the Guadalupe Center attend the scholarship ceremony at the end of the year, every single year for the last 5 years. I have only ever seen a maximum of 13 students receive either the FAS or FMS at Immokalee High. So not many get it, but we do encourage our students to do their best so that they can try to get it. For the last 3 years, not a single one of our students has had to take out a loan to attend their university, but it can make the difference between a student attending a school such as University of Florida to FSW or Santa Fe or Valencia Community College. I hope that kind of helps, Mike.
Yeah, it's helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions that I can answer?
Yeah, and Daniel, just a quick question on the career survey. When will our mentees know the results of that survey?
Oh, your mentees already know them.
They know. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if you reach out to your mentee and say, hey, what were your top 3 careers? They already have them. They just sent them to Esmeralda and I, and we just have to put it together. That is also what we'll use when the student is selecting the summer program that they'll attend this summer, because we want them to attend a program that matches up to their career or their major so they can find out whether or not that's for them. For some students, because a lot of them are interested in nursing or the health science fields, they attend a summer program, they learn they have to work with blood. I don't know why for the first time, but it's the first time they see blood or anything like skin. And they're like, nope, this isn't for me. I'm done. I'm out. I'm going to go study accounting or math or something else. That is what we want practically for every student to see that for the hands-on for the first time and say, this is for me. This isn't for me. Or they can decide for themselves, you know, I'm kind of interested in this, but I also kind of saw this other opportunity that I'm also very interested in. It helps motivate them once they're seniors.
Daniel, help me understand the summer program. So does every junior do a summer program this coming summer that you guys help them orchestrate or not?
Yes, so just like our spring break trip, every junior is required to attend one because it will also teach them whether or not they're okay going away from home. So Jean, like you were saying, you're worried about Z going away from home. For some of them, it teaches them that they can't be away from home for longer than a week. For others, it'll teach them that, you know what, they're okay, they feel good, they're happy to do it.
Daniel, I have a question. What's the update on the picnic at Hideaway Beach on March 1st? Is that still, is that still happening?
Yes, Kathy. So I actually had a call with Bill and Pam Dempsey on Monday. So we found out that Hideaway Beach will actually be sponsoring our hot dogs, hamburgers, and buns, and they'll be providing a chef to cook them all. So I won't be asking any mentors to get on the grill this year. So they're sponsoring that. I'm putting together the invite and the sign-up sheet for our other items such as fruit, cookies, brownies, plates, cups, sodas, and as such. So I'm hoping to get that out. If I don't get it out this week, I'm hoping to get it out next week. It will begin at 12. We try to follow the tides because one of the favorite events of the students is the kayaking to the small island that is there. We try to follow the tide, so it will begin at 12 and it will end at 4.
Great.
We'll have activities like volleyball, kickball, cornhole, Giant Connect 4 is a fan favorite, so we'll take that out too, but it should be a lot of fun.
Great. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. You're gonna hear the message recording